Cup of Joe with Grandpa Dez. Hey, Mel, and here is our special guest you're seeing for the first time. Hey, it's Filthy Tom.
And what's up?
Yeah,
Tom,
nice.
This is Mel. She's the host of the Power Bombshells on the Fight Game Media Network.
Awesome. How are you, Mel?
I'm good, Tom. We are big fans over at Power Bombshells. I'm not gonna lie.
Thank you.
We are, especially the jorts, man.
Yeah,
they're the best. Thank you for that.
They're keeping me in shape, at least. I mean, you know what I mean?
Whatever it takes.
So I'm gonna have to switch it up eventually, or pretty soon. Maybe I'll have to add something, or I don't know, maybe take something away. I don't know.
Will they even let you into Japan with those things?
I don't know. But I'm gonna hold on to them at least till I go over there, because I'm pretty sure there's.
Oh, do we lose Tom?
Just
Tom's internet. Tom, hey, James McDaniel from the Boom is joining us. Oh, there's Tom.
Right, that's right, Paul. There's not enough room for me and Tom. I just kicked his ass out.
Tom stalled out for a second there. You were talking about your jorts.
Yeah,
it's because
I thought he was going to pose for a second there.
No.
I got to put this in there, though. I think that the Japanese fans will be all about it. I think he's a pretty big deal. Also,
I think so too.
I think they're gonna like. I think they're gonna like it. Like, even if they would think they wouldn't, I think that they're definitely gonna. I really do.
Oh, and we're being joined by Scott Young.
There
we go. Scott Young from The Wrap, which is our WWE show. So we got Filthy Tom, James B. McDaniel, Scott Young, Mel Gray from the Power Bombshells, and me, Grandpa Dez, a.k.a. Paul Fontaine. And we're here to talk WrestleMania weekend. And it's not just WrestleMania, because there's so many other great shows. And that's why I wanted to have Filthy Tom on. Because, Tom, would you wrestle 3 times?
No, I wrestled 2 times.
Okay.
Actually.
I lied to Seth Rollins then.
My biggest win was at the bar where I saw you.
Oh, yeah.
Where I won the basketball Pop-A-Shot championship, set a new high score, 291 points. I was very proud.
Nice.
But I also wrestled at the New Japan Pro Wrestling Lone Star Shootout, which took place at WrestleCon, and also on the Black Label Pro Norm Show, which took place at the Collective. So I got to see both venues. I got to kind of feel out both things. I did a signing Friday morning at WrestleCon with my New Japan Strong title. I actually ran into somebody at the show who had a replica belt, which is the first time that I've seen that. So hopefully, I'm pretty sure they're a listener now that I think about it. I think I heard them mention that Grandpa Dez. I think I heard him say they're a listener. So if they're out there, props to you. Get a hold of me so I can get a replica belt made of my own.
Cool.
I'll commission you to do it.
Who'd you wrestle on those shows?
It was 2 6-man tags, actually, on the Lone Star Shootout. It was myself, J.R. Kratos, and Royce Isaacs, as we took on the team of the DKC, Alex Coughlin, and Fred Rosser. And then at Black Label Pro is me, Dominic Guarini, Kevin Koo against Kevin Blackwood, Titus Alexander, who was a replacement. There's quite a few injuries going into that show. It was like the last show of the Collective. So, of course, there's a ton of, people getting hurt along the way. And their third guy was Carlos Romo.
Oh, okay. So, cool. Did any of you guys watch either of those 2 shows? I know, James, you watched like everything.
I saw the New Japan one. Yeah,
that was a must-see on my list of like doing. Yeah, that was up top right there. First thing I bought. I was so
absolutely
excited because I wanted to go to that show.
Yeah. But I mean, it was running. What time? That was like early evening on Friday, right, Tom?
Yeah, that was on Friday. They also New Japan Strong aired Saturday night too, where I took on Clark Connors. So there's another match, that I guess I wrestled over the weekend. And then actually last night on IWTV, if anybody has that, Paradigm Pro had a British Rounds show in which I wrestled Travis Huckabee. So I'm all over the place.
Nice.
All right.
Seth Rollins is a big fan, Tom.
Is he really?
When I met him on Sunday, he knew who you were. And when I told him you'd been wrestled a bunch of times on the weekend, he said, "Oh man, that guy's living the dream."
It's amazing, to run into people in wrestling. I always forget that a lot of the wrestlers are, MMA fans as well. They just didn't go into that world or for one reason or another, probably because they're, I was going to say more intelligent, but I don't know. People in both worlds are kind of crazy. So
Mel,
go ahead.
Mel is itching to ask you a question. I can tell.
Oh no, I'm just enjoying the.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
I'm so happy Sam is gonna be like really bummed out, even though she had a good reason. It was opening day. She's a huge Praise fan.
Sam is the other power.
Sam is my co-host.
Yeah, I'm an Angels fan.
How do you guys do?
Sorry,
You know what? I am gonna steal a question here.
We have Otani.
Go ahead.
You guys do such a great job on the six-mans, what is it like? What is the thing that goes into you guys planning a six-man versus a singles these days because I am not usually a big fan of those, and on the undercard in New Japan shows, I'm used to it, and there's a lot of that and the setup and stuff, but really it's, I don't know, you guys have like your own style of doing it, and I just kind of curious as to what sort of like goes into.
Well, to me, if you watch, for the most part, sometimes it'll switch up, but for the most part, it'll be kind of a hot start of some sort. Guys get jumped at the bell a lot in these multi-mans, but I mean, there's 6 people, so logically, you can't keep people away from each other all the time. So there's usually like a hot start. The baby faces will get some moves, stand tall, and then it'll break down. Now, with New Japan, you see a lot more of kind of back and forth 50-50 action rather than like what people would consider a long sustained heat during a match. The lines between, because it's a sport or presented as a sport over there, it's not always so clear, the lines between a face and a heel. You know what I mean? And a lot of times they'll have traditional faces wrestling against traditional faces. There's some beautiful faces right there in the screen that you could see. But and then everybody will get a chance to shine, so to speak, whether it's against one guy or 2 guys, depending on the length of the match, will kind of determine who gets a chance to do what for what amount of time. But for me, if I can give like a little insight and then you go into the finish, the finish is always like move, something else happens, move. Somebody kicks out, they fire up, move, finish, something along those lines. But for me, as the champion in New Japan Strong, I'm not always, especially on these shows where there's like guys like Jay White, there's Swerves on the shows. There's so many great guys that are on these New Japan Strong shows now. I'm not always like the most over, but as the champion and having the belt, the one guy that walks out there with the title, I'm the most over. You know what I mean? So it's not really up to me in my mind to go out there and get myself over. That's already happened. It's gonna take care of itself. So if you watch these shows, like I don't do a lot of big moves anyways, so I'll do very little in these 6-mans. I'll get beat up most of the time, and then the rest of Team Filthy can clean up the scraps, and it's a lot of fun. It's the most fun I have and I've had throughout my career.
You guys just really nail it. I mean, you really do a nice job, and I like the fact that you don't do. I mean, I like the kind of old school vibe of come at me and tell me that jorts aren't cool. I just think that's great. I love it.
One of the things too that people probably don't like think about is I watch a lot of Ric Flair matches, because Ric Flair he'd do a lot of the same style of match. Every once in a while you get like Vader versus Ric Flair, which is him working underneath as like an old baby face and he's fighting valiantly. But for the most part, he was going into places, he was wrestling different guys, and what he was always trying to do was make them look good. So if you watch him in the ring, you can kind of pinpoint certain things or certain times to give the babyface an opportunity. So, he's somebody that I kind of watch to get like the feel of how he wrestles. And that, somebody probably doesn't think about that when they watch, me necessarily out there, but.
James, you got anything for Tom?
I actually do. And it's something, as a viewer, WrestleMania weekend has gotten a lot more difficult to navigate since WrestleMania went to 2 nights, because everything used to be pretty evenly distributed Thursday, Friday, Saturday, then WrestleMania on Sunday. And Tom, it's got to be difficult getting just arranging bookings as well when everything is now kind of packed into Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, I got there on Thursday. When New Japan has us out for shows, I like to have us out early, so we can get prepared. And I was not thinking that all of the stuff was starting to take place on Thursday, because the last time I went to one of these WrestleManias, it was only one night, so I haven't really dealt with these 2-night deals yet. And having Joey Janela's spring break starting on Thursday night kind of threw me off guard.
Yeah.
Bloodsport took place on Thursday, and then having night 2 of spring break Saturday night, and then WrestleMania starts. NXT is during the day, on Saturday. So it was just like a whirlwind of things. And on top of all that, I'm sure I mentioned it to Paul, but when I landed, I find out my father was in the hospital for a week.
Oh my God.
And he was getting discharged. They didn't find anything when he was in there, and his heart stopped for 9 seconds, on the way out. So they had to immediately put in a pacemaker. And apparently this is pretty common thing. It's not like
every day.
I don't know how close he was knocking on death's door, but apparently it's pretty common. So everything's cool now. But right when I landed, all that stuff started happening. So I had to deal with that. And then it kind of threw my entire weekend off, I would say. And then, the adrenaline rush from wrestling on Friday night and then going down, and then the adrenaline rush from winning that big game at the bar Friday night afterward. It was a topsy-turvy weekend for sure.
And getting a ride back to the hotel in the Grandpa Dez mobile.
Yeah, it was actually very nice. And I saw the Omni when I was walking around the next day, actually, when I was going to leave. So
it was pretty close.
Paul,
Scott,
was there anyone in Dallas that weekend that you didn't meet?
Yeah,
I think you met literally everyone.
There's a few, I did meet a lot of people, but there's a few that I didn't. Honestly, Mookie, I didn't even know was there, and I would have met up with him and bought him a drink for sure.
I actually met him. Well, I don't know. I assume I met him. I didn't realize it was him at one of the Q&As in Chicago.
Yeah.
Right. And he was just sitting next to me. I was like, huh? Oh, yeah. That's him.
Just like another dude.
I followed him.
Chris from Minneapolis. I got a question.
On Twitter.
Yeah. Scott, you got anything for Tom?
Just to kind of piggyback off of what James was asking you, do you think that the weekend is becoming a bit oversaturated? Is there too much content to consume during that weekend? Because there's, like you mentioned, there's so many shows. You mentioned you wrestled on multiple shows, and you're a bigger name wrestling on these shows. So you're kind of a marquee guy. So you're, how do you feel about having all these different shows running on the weekend? And do you think it kind of maybe takes away from certain shows, or do you think this is just, the more content, the better?
No, I don't think it's the more content, the better, because there's a lot of stuff that's really awesome out there that I don't get to see at all because I just don't have the time. You know what I mean? I haven't had time to watch the Stardom Cinderella tournament, and damn it, I'm going to do that. Before this weekend's over. And there's a lot of stuff that I'm just going to have to not watch because of that. And a lot of it was the stuff that happened over WrestleMania weekend. There's just too many shows. And I don't necessarily think that it's the fault of the independent companies, but adding this extra day of WrestleMania just screws everything up. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's too big of a show. There's too many people that are going to that would probably go to that, and some of the independent shows that just will miss out on one or the other. And I don't think that you should be making, the fans have a choice, but you don't have to make the fans make a choice if it doesn't make sense business wise. And to me, it's oversaturated. When you look at the amount of shows that are on some of these pay-per-view packages and things like that. Like having 20 shows is great, but having 10 shows you can actually watch that are, higher quality or different. There's different guys on the shows is awesome. You know what I mean? Like Mike Bailey is one of the best guys in the world to watch, but I can't watch 10 Mike Bailey matches from last week. Right. You know what I mean? I want to, but you know what I mean? And that sucks.
I wanted to see a Ishii live, and it was a choice between him and Suzuki.
You want to know how much of the New Japan show I saw? 0.
Right, because they didn't let you come
Mike
out.
Bailey and Jay White, right?
Yeah.
You know how much of the match between the Workhorsemen, Anthony Henry and JD Drake against Davey Richards and Mike Bailey I saw? 0.
Wow. Okay.
You know what I mean?
So Tom, we
spread it out. I want to watch more Mike Bailey, so spread the 10 matches he had out every month so I could do that.
I'll send you some stuff. Okay, so Tom promised us about 15 minutes, and we've gone a little bit over that, so I want to make sure I don't keep him on too long. You're welcome to stay as long as you want, but
no, I'll just bury you off air.
There you go. But I do want I know you will. I do want to ask, though, before you have to leave, what was the best match you saw this weekend?
Well, like I said, there's a lot of stuff I didn't see.
Right.
I heard a bunch.
Because I'm going to ask everybody this, so that's why I want to make sure and ask you.
Okay. The best one, I'll cut to the chase. The best one that I saw, besides Sami Zayn and Johnny Knoxville, was Bianca and Becky. I love that match.
That match was great.
Great match.
Yeah, to cap off their feud or be, what should be the big blow off to their feud. They fought back and forth the entire time. They both came out of this match looking stronger to me. And, even losing the title, it's not like Becky looks like any less of a superstar coming out of this, And I thought Bianca for this, the second year in a row, kind of stole the show with her performance. And they're both just phenomenal performers. I liked almost everything I saw on both nights. What I think was the best debut match ever by anybody in Logan Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My daughter was jumping up and down, screaming and cheering for the Miz.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then they turned to babyface. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, because he turned on Logan Paul.
They tried to turn Logan Paul babyface.
Yeah. Scott has an interesting theory about what the next plan for Bianca should be for next year. He had on the wrap.
Yeah, what she's done so far is incredible. Like you said, she's taken out Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. She has already taken out Bayley of the Four Horsewomen. Me personally, the next 2 years, I would have her pick off Bayley and then cap it all off beating Charlotte at WrestleMania in consecutive years. I don't think there's anything greater you could do as far as WWE goes, putting a woman over than having her beat all of the Four Horsewomen at WrestleMania. I don't think there's anything greater you could do for a woman performer in WWE right now.
Yeah, I mean, is that your number one wish? Is that what you would hope, or is that what you think would happen?
So I genuinely think that Bianca Belair is going to knock off Charlotte Flair next year at WrestleMania. I just there has to be the plan going forward because you have to have something planned for her. I think Becky Lynch and Ronda, that's going down in LA. But I mean, if it's not Rhea Ripley and Bianca, you're crazy if you don't go with Charlotte Flair and have her go 3 for 3 in Mania and WrestleMania main events. And Charlotte's the one that got away.
I just love that idea. I wanted to give you some shine there, Scott.
Absolutely.
I would one up it and go long term and send Asuka down to NXT and give her another run with that belt. And then why not have Bianca unify all three?
I like that.
I like that.
I mean, if you want to put somebody over.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's never going to happen. But
sold. Big Asuka fan right here. This is huge.
I like the fact that you keep up because I mean you watched everything on WrestleMania, even though you could have been watching all these indie shows, and that's the cool thing to do. To I don't like WWE, but when they're good, they're good. And this weekend
Hey,
was
both nights to me. I
Yeah.
went back and watched night one because I didn't have a chance to watch it live.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
You should.
You know what I mean?
You should have come with me. I had a ticket.
I was so mad.
I know. And you saw who I brought? Tie-dye
No.
guy. I ran into him outside the stadium and he didn't have
No.
a ticket, so I brought him in. Yeah. The
Unbelievable.
what's his name? Eddie?
I don't, it's wild the people that you see. Like
Yeah.
I'm walking out during that New Japan show and I'm slapping hands with guys, and there's Vlad, the
Yeah.
super fan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like,
Well, that's
he's
who I
here?
thought
Well,
Eddie was. I thought he was Vlad, but it was turns out it was the other guy. He dresses up like Hogan all the time. That guy, you recognize me if you saw him. He's on my Facebook. But he was happy, and then he didn't get in the second night. So
How was it to watch Mania with him, Paul?
it was weird. He was photobombing. He was photobombing everybody, holding up signs. Like, I don't know what these signs said, but he's just trying to get himself over. And he promised to buy me a drink for the ticket, which never happened. And
What, not
whatever,
even
I don't
one?
care. The ticket was
Okay.
free. What?
he didn't buy you one drink.
Not really, no.
Oh,
Yeah,
What
but
do you
it's
mean, not
fine.
really.
It's fine.
Hold on. What do you mean,
Well,
not really?
Yeah, there's more to
Well,
this
okay,
story. There's something
so
here.
a half hour left
That
in
was
the
a
show.
that was a no, yes or no.
Half hour left in the show. He asked me or whatever, and by this point, it's like, yeah, whatever. I'm not going to drink. I got to drive. So get me a Dr. Pepper. So he disappears. He comes back with a half a glass of Dr. Pepper. He probably found somewhere. So I
Come on.
didn't drink it. Yeah, that's why I said kinda. I had an interesting weekend, dude.
I want to listen to nothing but a podcast of you just detailing your weekend. 'Cause this is
Well,
getting better and better the more I'm hearing
So
it.
who tell the listeners and my three co-hosts here, Tom, who else you introduced me to at the bar who I didn't recognize? Do you even remember?
Well, anyone.
I didn't recognize any of them.
Anyone.
I didn't
Huh?
recognize any of them.
Okay, so it was like Royce Isaacs, who else? Clark Connors, Carl Fredericks, Dave Finley.
Are you serious, Paul?
It wasn't
I'm
no Dave
so
Finley. No way. It
ashamed.
was
Finley was
that
there.
That was Dave Finley. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
Now I
you're
remember.
dead to me, man. You're dead to
And
me.
the
That's
and
terrible.
Uemura.
Yuya Uemura, he was there.
Oh my
Yeah.
god!
Yeah. And I'm just like, yeah, cool. Tom's introducing like their first names, and I'm just, oh, cool, nice to meet you. Whatever. One dude's real jacked. I guess that was Fredericks.
Royce.
This is why
Royce?
you get
Okay.
controversy on Twitter, dude.
I know.
This is the reason. It's this sort of
You
thing.
should keep up, Paul.
I know. I'm an
Please,
old man.
Paul.
Yeah. And then there. Well, so okay, so that was that. Sorry, who did you say was the
Right.
jack dude? Oh, Isaacs. Oh yeah, you when we got back to your hotel, I won't repeat the story, but it was a funny story that he told about trying to get into that club, and they were going to check his bag. Yeah.
Oh, you just
yeah.
missed out on Jay White. I saw him when I went in the hotel, so
Oh well, whatever.
you wouldn't have known who it was, anyways.
I would have recognized Jay White. I
Fine.
would have just said, "Dude,
Paul
you're overrated."
is going hard on the Grandpa Dez gimmick, y'all. He's going all in.
Yeah, I
Really
wish it was a gimmick.
Would you recognize Killer Kowalski?
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Haystacks
I recognize Michael
Yeah.
Hayes. Michael Hayes told me off at the bar at the Omni. He got mad because I touched him, like on
Well-
the shoulder. I just tapped him and he
Yeah,
like, flipped
well,
out. Yeah, apparently
not
you're
what
not
Yeah,
allowed
you
to
can't
do
be
that.
touching people.
I know. That's what he said.
Yeah, he's right. You just go touching people you don't know.
Just
Yeah,
out
I
here
know.
creeping on Freebird.
Especially
Paul.
like
Give me a
if he
break.
did it to you, that's one thing because he could probably fuck
Well,
you
so
up.
at the end, right before when we talked for like 10 minutes, and then he tapped me on the shoulder. And I'm like, "Did you just touch me?" And he's like, "That was funny, man." And he gave me a fist bump, so that was cool. Michael Hayes told me I was funny. I can take that to my grave.
It's a good way to leave things. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Tom's not impressed.
That's a good segue.
Yeah. All right. And so are you good to stick around, or you gotta go pick up a pizza, right?
Paul, that was the point. That's why I said that's a good segue.
Okay. All right. So I want to thank Tom for joining
ahead of
us. And
I have a very specific pizza order at 6:15.
I
I go to order 2 pizzas, right? They only do 25 pre-orders a day. I go to order 2, I can only get 1. So now I got to get there so I can get another one.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Get that.
So,
Messing around with the man's pizza. Jeez.
I'll bet you're going to be the only guy that picks a WWE match. Well, maybe Scott, as the match of the weekend. So I'm glad we had you on for that reason only, but also to share your experiences. And you guys can listen to Filthy Tom on the Filthy Four Daily Show, which should be called Filthy Four Weekly, every Monday afternoon on f4wonline.com. And you can check them out on New Japan Strong, New Japan World, the reigning, defending, undisputed, never open weight. What the hell is it? Champion of the world, Filthy Tom Lawler. Yeah. Ring announcing is
Tom Lawler on Twitter and Instagram.
All right.
Peace.
Cool. Thanks, Tom. Catch you later. You can bury me off air. Peace out. All right. And now it's
I just did a show with Tom Lawler. I just thought I'd throw that out there. You know.
I know, right? I'm dealing. I'm gonna wait until afterwards to flip out. It's fine. That's so
great surprise
fun.
guest, Paul. Great surprise guest.
Thank you. Yeah, that made
that was just for Mel. But I'm glad that the other two of you enjoyed it.
Thank you.
So
you know what? That's so nice.
I'll go right ahead with my favorite match of the week. It might be some of your rest of yours, and it's these guys, top guys. I just thought that was I mean, it's the second best match I've ever seen live. The best being Cody and Dustin at Double or Nothing, in my opinion.
That was a great one.
Yeah, and then who was I talking to? Jeff Hawkins. Last night on the Dynamite show, we mentioned that the match that the same guys had against American Alpha at TakeOver Dallas was real close. But I kind of worked it out in my head, kind of with my mouth as well, and decided that this match was better. FTR Briscoes, and frick, that match last night with the Bucks was like pretty damn good.
Real
too,
good.
So,
real good. They've had a great week.
That one live. Yeah,
killing it because they did the Impact show too.
Yeah. So, James, what was your best match of the weekend?
That was it. It was FTR versus the boys. Big Briscoes fan for the last decade. I've wanted to see this match for a long time. It had so much build. I didn't think we were getting it. And then I thought, can it live up to the hype? And it's so rare that something actually lives up to the hype and surpasses it. And that match absolutely did. And then depression set in as I realized Tony Khan just quietly moved the Briscoes out of the building, possibly forever, and then just no more Briscoes. That was a little depressing, but we got it the one time at the very least.
Well, you can see them on Access TV, and you can hear about them on Brace for Impact on the Viking Media Network. And
they're still going to GCW. And I've got to say, the wrestler I was most impressed with over the weekend was Speedball Mike Bailey. I'd seen him once before. I think I saw 4 or 5 Mike Bailey matches, and he looked really good in each one. I think he was the performer of the weekend.
So I had never seen Mike Bailey. I'd heard a lot about him, and I saw a match that he had with Daniel Garcia on a Quebec indie show in 2019, but I only watched it maybe 6 months ago. It aired on Fight Network up here, and it was awesome. And then he shows up in Impact, and he's been killing it in Impact. Every time he shows up on there, and he wrestles probably every other week. So I've seen a bunch of his matches recently. Excuse me a second, I got a cough.
Yeah, I'd been hearing a lot about him. I haven't been watching Impact lately, although I tuned in recently for the first time because I just got Access TV again. And he wasn't on that episode, but it was a great episode. So that's something I'm going to try and watch a lot more of. So this was my first real exposure, and I loved every match I saw him in. I really enjoyed every match I saw him in.
Really unique character. I don't even know how to describe it, but when he does his promos, it's like nothing you've seen before. A little Matt Sedelish, but I don't think it's exactly what he's going for.
Right.
So I I drew a blank there. I wanted to say something. I want to follow up on what you said. Oh, I know what it was.
Why are you trying to steal my gimmick?
During the Briscoes match, did y'all hear a tag team wrestling chant?
Yeah, that was you, right?
I started it. I did.
Nice.
So, yeah,
that was fantastic.
Well
done. I started a few chants. Some of them didn't get over. There was one that we were trying to do. What was it? Oh man, it was the Let's Go Willow, and then they were Mercedes Martinez. We were
Oh my
chanting
Lord.
it. There was-
That's a hard one.
Mouthful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we were laughing, so it was maybe like 7 of us, but we were close to the front, so I thought maybe it might have got on camera. But I really enjoyed that match. That might have been my second favorite match on that show, believe it or not. Mercedes Martinez and Willow. I
was a good
really
one.
enjoyed it. Yeah, I liked it.
I think it benefited. I think it benefited by going. It was before the FTR match, correct?
Oh yeah, it was right before.
Because
Oh,
everything
yeah.
after that I couldn't quite get into because I was so emotionally spent from FTR, and I'm seeing that on y'all's faces here as well.
Mhm. So Mel, what was your favorite match of the weekend?
Well, the FTR Briscoes match is the favorite, and I
Okay.
don't think there's any denying it. I do have like sort of the shout out match to John Moxley and Biff Busick on Bloodsport was freaking fantastic, and it was the first time I'd ever seen anything on a Bloodsport match, and so I love the psychology of the idea of the ring with no ropes. I love the whole, and that match ended up being fantastic. And then a huge shout out, just a ladies match was MJ Jenkins versus Trishadora was awesome. Really good match. Like I would say go find it. It was I watched because Sam had written an article about Trish, and so it was something I was kind of looking forward to, and geez, I'm glad that I did. It was real good stuff.
Which show was
really
that on?
Creative. It was on For the Culture, I believe.
Okay. Because I've only seen MJ Jenkins once that I can recall, and it was probably over a year ago on AEW, and I wasn't impressed. Like I definitely wasn't impressed with her, and I thought she needed a lot of work. So if she had a great match, I mean, she's probably just been working on the indies and working better. And believe me, I see that all the time. You know, where you haven't seen somebody in a year, and then you see them again. It's like, holy crap! Like Thunder Rosa, like she used to be horrible. And and she's she got really good in the time she's been working on the indies, NWA and all that, and then she comes to AEW and she's one of the better workers they have.
When you see something like that, I think it makes me want to invest in them because I realize how much that means they love this sport and they want to get better. And that's one of the things I like about Jade Cargill is I see her getting better every week. And that means something to me that she is putting the work in when so many people that look like her maybe wouldn't want to put in the work because they don't need to still be in the TV and in main events. So I love that when you see that.
Like Bill
I don't know
Goldberg.
too many people that look like her.
No.
Ain't too many people built like her.
Kidding.
No.
Preach. What was your match of the weekend, Scott?
So, I think I'm whatever, but I think the best match of the weekend was probably FTR. Probably FTR versus the Briscoes. I was really high on Bianca and Becky, though. I thought the emotion, the crowd was invested through it. And that ending sequence, man, when she lifts her up and the crowd stands up with her, that's just a beautiful shot. And then to know that her eye was shut halfway through, it's a beautiful match. But FTR and Briscoes, that's a once in a lifetime thing. And like James said, Tony Khan really, he wiped his hands clean of the Briscoes. So we might not be seeing that match again. So
real quick.
Yeah, real quick. You know what I mean? So I think that one, it has something special to it because we may never see that again. But my favorite match, man, I got to tell you, as someone who wasn't watching wrestling at the time, seeing Stone Cold Steve Austin go out there, stomp a mud hole and be Stone Cold and get suplexed on the outside of the ring and have a match, man, that was incredible to me. That, for me personally, as someone who didn't experience it in the moment and could only go back and watch it, that was special, man. I something I never thought I would see. Kevin Owens was the perfect opponent for it. They had a really good, really fun brawl, man. That is probably the most fun I had watching a match. I was standing on my feet the entire time, and after it was over, I'm still cheering. I think I went and got a beer so I could go cheer Stone Cold myself in my living room. That Stone Cold match was special for me.
So here's something that I don't know if you guys know. I was there live at the, that, but what you don't know is I didn't see Stone Cold and Kevin Owens. My daughter, I was posting pictures in the Fight Game thread, and there were people, we had great seats, but there were people that were standing right in front of us. And these are like WWE employees. These are event security staff, and they were like right in our sight line. So we got down to where they were right in front of us, and we figured, well, we can't beat them, join them. We'll just stand there. And then what happened was, as soon as they announced that it was going to be a match, the place exploded. And my daughter, who has special needs, she just started screaming. She couldn't handle the noise. So we had to leave. Like we literally,
Man.
when they say, I just heard the recap and Dave was saying like, well, nobody's going to leave during Stone Cold Kevin Owens. Well,
you're the one.
We left. Nice thing is we beat traffic. We were the only ones in the parking lot.
Positive.
Yeah, but I'll go back and watch it. But I did see the next night. I got to see him stunner Vince McMahon, and so I got that. And the real cool thing, I don't know if everybody noticed, but on the second night, he came out at exactly 3 hours and 16 minutes into the show. I don't know.
That's amazing.
Really cool.
Absolutely, yeah,
amazing.
It's also probably
rad.
why the New Day match got cut short.
No, that was the video packages. They had to play 28 more video packages. I think.
True. But
you gotta get them all in.
Out. That can't be an accident. That can't.
I did like the marching band. I'm not gonna lie. That was
the marching band was great.
Yeah.
Boy, shout out to the HBCUs. Boy, that's a homecoming tradition. That was sweet.
So
that was
cool.
sweet.
Being from Louisiana, I'm a sucker for that. I'm a sucker for it. I pop every time.
As a not watcher of WWE, like I don't watch the products. So this is my first WrestleMania that I've watched since we went into 2019. So before the whole world shut down, we went to the ROH New Japan show, and my friend had never been. He was in from another country. So I was like, let's go out there. Let's do it. Like we did as much as we could about the weekend. It's a little tougher to get around New York. But we went out, and I haven't watched a WrestleMania since then. I ended up watching both nights. Bell to bell. I mean, all the main card, not the undercard.
I'm surprised.
It was fun. I enjoyed myself. There were some good matches on the card, and I had a lot of fun, and it felt like a real WrestleMania it felt good. It felt like a good. I mean, I recommend everyone go. I've been to 2. Like, even if you're not a fan, you should go. But it was fun to watch.
Second. Yeah, this was my second. My favorite WrestleMania match wasn't wasn't the Bianca Becky match, believe it or not. It was actually the opener on night 2, the tag match. Yeah, I just love that match. I haven't seen that one almost wish it could have gone a couple more minutes, but the blockbusters, oh my god! And seeing that live, seeing my daughter, the one that I mentioned, like that was going nuts for the Johnny Knoxville match and Logan Paul. She was screaming, like she couldn't believe, like she screamed out, "Oh my god!" like at Montez Ford and getting hit like in the middle of the air like that.
That's
like,
awesome.
Yeah, and she
that springboard RKO was crazy from Riddle. I did not see him doing that.
No, I mean, so yeah, I just love that. I mean, for me, like I love a good tag team match. So I mean, that was the second best match of the weekend for me, and the best WWE match. There were some good ones, the Bianca we mentioned, Roman Brock was pretty good. It just wasn't quite as good as a lot of people were hoping, I guess. And
Austin Theory was good too.
Yeah, McAfee, Austin Theory. Oh, here's a story. Pat McAfee. So I'm going. One of the moments where my daughter was not doing so great, I brought her to the back to the quiet area, got her calmed down, start coming back out, and of course, as soon as everyone sees someone in a wheelchair coming, they kind of all back off. People open the door. It's all real nice. But this time, there's like this entourage coming towards us, and here's Pat McAfee coming my way, and he looks down at Emily and he says, "I hope you guys are enjoying the show." Gives me a fist bump, like he had just left commentary and was going to get ready for his match, and he stopped to say, he stopped to say, "I hope you guys are enjoying the show."
I love to hear that.
I just thought that was really cool. Yeah,
absolutely. Paul, I am a bitter old man who has been embittered by the WWE. And going into this WrestleMania, I think even a lot of WWE fans were worried it wasn't going to be a great one. And it ended up being maybe an all-time great. I haven't watched all of both nights. I've watched most of night 1. Everything I saw was fantastic. I've seen a couple matches from night 2. I'm going to try and catch up with the rest tonight and tomorrow. But I've got to give it to them. They put on a hell of a show when a lot of people weren't expecting it. And I feel like I need to give them their props when they're doing something right, because I criticize them every chance I get. So I need to say that right now.
I don't want them to be something that I don't enjoy. I mean, that's where I started. I mean, I did get to experience the Attitude Era at just the right age. I was like 17 to 21 when that was going on. So
same, yep.
I got the college experience and the whole thing. I mean, I am as cliche as they come. So
I was in my late 20s already. So yeah,
I was
that's how I'm
I
an
was
old
like
man now.
I was like a freshman at Louisiana Tech University, and it was so crazy to grow up a wrestling fan and then see everyone on campus either had an Austin 316 shirt or an NWO shirt,
Yeah.
like every day, and it was surreal.
yeah, when the normies are wearing the stuff, it's over. You're like, what's happening?
Yeah.
And I don't know if we'll ever get there again, but it was really cool while it was happening.
Here's hoping though. I mean, no matter how you slice it, like the value of Cody Rhodes to them had everything to do with wrestling getting big enough that another thing started, and it got big enough with Cody Rhodes on it. And so his value comes from the fact that wrestling's been improving significantly over the past 3 to 5 years, even kind of some of it despite a plague. Like we shut the world down for 3 years basically, and I mean, they still haven't unleashed the Japan fans. Wait till that happens.
Yeah,
they're blowing the roof straight off the Tokyo Dome. Might finally just come straight off. Like,
well, I kind of hinted at it. Tom's like he's probably looking at going over there in a few months.
I hope he does.
Well,
Carl Fredericks, people like that are like. I mean, Carl's like one of the main guys that I love to follow. He is.
I told him they need somebody to go 0-9 in the tournament, and he says, "I ain't going 0-9."
I really like what something Mel just said about how great wrestling is right now, because I think back to the glory days of like junior high for me when I'm watching all these great WCW pay-per-views, and when I look back at them, they had a lot of great matches. There was also a lot of PN news matches, Paul, like a lot. And today, like again, when you're watching GCW shows, which is, I mean, I love GCW, but it's kind of bottom of the barrel when it comes to wrestlers. They're good wrestlers. Like everyone today is a good wrestler. Everyone on WWE, both nights, were good wrestlers. Logan Paul was a good wrestler. Like the level of wrestling is so high right now, it's ridiculous. And that's something I hope everybody watching recognizes. Like we are living in a little bit of a golden age right now, where everybody's really good.
Going to my first GCW show on April 23rd. I cannot wait. It's my first wrestling show. I know it's my first wrestling show back, but I've got like Effie on the card, and it's just
you're gonna have a great time.
And I've never seen him live.
These were my first shows since 2019 that I saw this weekend live. So
man,
Dave Meltzer had a point that to what James was saying. He was saying like 15, 20 years ago, when you got a pay-per-view, you were lucky to get 1 or 2 matches that were, 3.5 stars. If you had a 4-star match on 4-star match on a show, it was like a show of the year contender. Now, if you have anything under like 3.5 stars, everyone's calling it a bad match. I mean, John LaRocca just reviewed WrestleMania 5 on his Take It Home podcast on the Fight Game Media Network. Cheap plug. And he's going through the star ratings, and it's like 1 3/4, -2. Dud, 1, and it's like, and even the main event was like 2 3/4 stars. And it's like everyone thinks back to WrestleMania 5. Oh man, that was so great, or whatever. Go back and watch it again, and then go watch this week's WrestleMania and tell me which was better.
Even looking at the Undertaker streak, like he had some great matches near the end. When you look at the list of the early opponents that he beat, it's like, man, I don't want to see. Like I would fight you to not watch some of those matches.
It wasn't until, when he wrestled Mankind, when he had the feud with Mankind, that he actually even had a half decent match.
Yeah.
And at WrestleMania, it was probably Triple H the first time.
Yeah.
So what's that, 17?
Also, I want to go back real quick to something Scott said earlier, because Scott, you were talking about like FTR might have been the best match of the weekend, but you were talking about like a fun match, and there's so many fun matches WrestleMania weekend. Like I think it was Joey Janela's Spring Break 2 was maybe the most fun wrestling show I've ever been to. So I'm still a sucker for it, even if there's garbage in the ring. I love Joey Janela's Spring Break. And this year's can I even say the name of that battle royal on here? I think so.
The Cluster F.
Yeah, the Cluster F. Like it was a weird cluster this year. Really weird, but I still loved it. I loved every part of it, and it was so much fun.
Don't they do those every year?
Yeah, every year.
Okay, yeah. Because I the only time I've ever bought an indie show on pay like a real indie was and I guess maybe it's a GCW technically, so maybe I've actually bought a GCW show. It was a Spring Break.
Yeah,
and it was
that's GCW.
it was when they had the Invisible Man was in there, and he was
Was
like
it the year he
tossing
won?
people out.
Yeah,
I don't
Invisible
think he
Man.
won.
He won,
Who,
I think
Dan Severn was in it.
that was
He-
2012. That was 2012. That's spring
No.
break too. Yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
That long ago?
yeah.
Holy crap! I'm old.
Was
Yeah.
the Invisible Man related to the God character that wrestled Vince McMahon and Shawn
No,
Michaels
dude.
and Shane McMahon on
Dude,
pay per view? Because
I
where
think
did he
gotta
come
check
from?
out the
They have to
Invisible
be
Man,
related,
Scott.
man.
They got to be related, right?
These guys are selling
Canon.
for invisible spots. It's amazing. It's
Paul,
awesome.
Crazy.
have you seen the Invisible Man wrestle his arch nemesis, Invisible Stan?
I have
The
no
referee had to wear special glasses to be able to see them. It was
Okay.
it was a hell of a match.
I will take your word for it.
You're talking to somebody who enjoyed Talking Shop-A-Mania 1 and 2 extremely much. So
Right here.
it's so much
Fist bump
fun.
now. Yeah, exactly. Like, there's some wrestling that's not necessarily great wrestling, but it is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And Talking Shop-A-Mania for sure fits that description. Those were a blast.
So much fun.
So I know you guys wanted to hear some of my stuff. So
Yeah.
when my daughter, like and most people watching know, probably everybody watching knows, my daughter's is Becky Lynch's biggest fan, and Becky says she's Emily's biggest fan too. So that's it's kind of cool that they met each other. So she, we got to meet her at the hotel, and as we're talking, we're meeting, we have a couple of WWE Hall of Famers that just happen to randomly be walking by and asking if they could get a picture with Emily. And so that was these two. And they didn't just take a picture. Like, they stopped and chatted, and we probably talked for 5-10 minutes. And Trish made a point of talking to my other daughter, Sydney, and asking her, what do you do? How old are you? Like all this stuff. And then
That's
when
so thoughtful.
it was. And then when she wanted to get a picture of our whole group. So she hands her cell phone to the WWE representative that was there with Becky, and this girl's taking pictures. I didn't even think to get my phone out. And then, and so there's, I think, 5 of us: Trish, Lita, Becky, me, my daughter, my 2 daughters, so 6 of us. And so we got these pictures, and then afterwards, like, I don't have this picture. So I'm like trying to get it. And so I'm trying to get a hold of the representative because I had her text number, and I didn't want to bug Becky because she's, we're having a really busy weekend, and I have no way to get a hold of Trish. So, but I knew Trish had it, and my daughter's walking around like, some wrestler's got my picture on her cell phone, and, but she was really like, I asked her, I've said this in a few times now, Bianca and Montez Ford were, she said, the most beautiful people she'd ever met. But she said the nicest person she met all weekend, she said, was Trish. And
that was going to be my next question, was kind of who were the standouts of the people you met? That's
the people
lovely.
I met. I mean, you know what? Dolph Ziggler was really cool. So my older daughter, she forgot something in the hotel room because we were heading out to WrestleMania night 1. And so my daughter goes back to the hotel room, and she walks past Dolph Ziggler. And so when we walked in, it was Dolph Ziggler and Nick Nemeth were together, right? Brothers.
Oh, yeah.
Or Ryan Nemeth.
Yeah.
And so then, and I was telling my daughter who they were and everything like that. And then, so when she goes back to her hotel room, she stops and she says, could you go get a picture with my sister over there? And she shows her in the wheelchair, and Dolph's like, oh yeah, no problem, whatever. So he comes over with this other guy who was not Ryan Nemeth. I have no idea who this guy is. I don't know if he's a wrestler. He was pretty jacked. He might have been, but I didn't recognize him. I mean, who knows? Like, freaking probably Roman Reigns or something, and I didn't recognize him. Like, no, of course it wasn't Roman Reigns. But I don't know who it was. He was a little.
It could have been Okada. I wouldn't have had
It wasn't Okada.
Idea.
Yeah,
but he kind of looked a little like a younger Jesse James, and the voice was the same, but it definitely wasn't him either. Like Road Dogg. But anyways, he comes over and he talks to us for like a few minutes, takes a few pictures. I was joking around with him. I said, it's nice that you got called up to NXT, and he laughed. And the guy that was with him, he was laughing even harder. And then we were even making jokes, like, because we talked about my daughter being. Oh, I said, because my daughter Emily was looking up at him like this or whatever, and I said, that look, I think she's fallen in love, but I think she still likes Austin Theory better because she had met Austin Theory earlier and she was smitten.
Yeah,
and And then I said, but I think my older daughter might be into you. And he says, I get that a lot. And then we made some sort of joke about how because he was talking about how he is older than, like, you take any random 2 wrestlers in NXT and add their ages together, and he says, I'm probably older than them, like, combined. And then I said, well, you know the old joke, right? 2 18-year-olds is the same as a 36-year-old. And he says, I gotten in trouble with that one a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he was really cool. And you know, like all of them, like, you know, when you stop them and they're there doing, you know, whatever, sometimes they're just sitting around and doing something, and you ask them, and they were so gracious with their time. And you know, and not just taking, a few of them just kind of took the picture, but you know, most of them were like chatting and talking to Emily and everything. And she's nonverbal, so you know, it's a lot of like nonverbal cues you're giving her, and I'm kind of telling them how she's feeling and stuff.
Yeah.
Mandy Rose was so nice with Emily. She just sat and was they were looking at each other, and she just beautiful woman, like, you know. Yeah, so I just thought that was nice.
Corey Graves, back up. We get it.
Hey, beautiful. Like I'm taken. Man. I got a wife. She's upstairs.
Joking.
Yeah, but no. And then of course, like these two, you know, that was just so much. So this was the second meeting we had.
I don't think you need to describe how she's feeling there.
Yeah,
no, like look at the two
it's
of them.
coming across.
Like, they both, and Seth was the third wheel. There's another one though where she's looking up at him, and we're like, no, Emily, he's taken. You know. So it was that was super nice. And that was, I mean, we chatted there, and that was Sunday. So we chatted for like 15 minutes, and that was when we were getting ready to go to night 2. I think they went to night 2, they said. But they were going to go a little bit later. Oh, when we were talking to Dolph, I'm like, I think I even said, because it was like 5:30, and so he says, hadn't the show already started? And I'm like, I don't know, it's a pre-show. I don't know if there's any matches or anything. Turns out there wasn't. I says, you know, I can give you guys a ride down there if you want. And they're like, no, I think we're good. And then Dolph's like, I'm not going anywhere near that place tonight. So, yeah, I don't know if he was jealous that he didn't get to go on or whatever, but so we talked about the favorite matches. What for overall show on WrestleMania weekend that you saw? Scott, what was your favorite show? And I guess counting WrestleMania both nights as, you know, as a separate show.
Oh, because I was going to separate them because I thought night 1 was just way better than night 2. So yeah, I'll go night. I think night 1 was about as close to a perfect WWE show as you could get. You had your wrestling, you had your stories come to a conclusion, you had your sports entertainment, you know, quote unquote. I mean, you had a little bit of everything. You know, I talked about how the Stone Cold match was just a blast, and the crowd. I do want to give a big shout out to that crowd. They were incredible, even for the stuff that wasn't that great. Like those first few matches weren't that great in night 1, and then it just became fantastic. The crowd was with it the whole time. The Super Card of Honor, I want to say I purchased that, and I don't purchase a lot of indie shows. That's just not me. I think the last one I did was Terminus, which was really good, but I don't do Ring of Honor. That's just not me. But they had me intrigued. And man, was I really disappointed in that overall show. The FTR Briscoes match was great. Gresham is Gresham. You know what you're going to get, but nothing else really stood out. And I, you know, for me as somebody who doesn't watch, this was the one that was going to be like, all right, if this is good, I'm in, because this is like a reboot. This is like the beginning, so I can start fresh. Yeah. And I don't know if they did enough. And maybe that's just me, but I don't know if they did enough, especially when I go to WWE. And like James said, I wasn't expecting a blowaway show, and I was blown away. So that's kind of where I was at this weekend. I was kind of on a real low, and then WWE brought me to a real high.
I was, like I said, I was there at the ROH show, and the crowd was into what they were into, but the majority of that show, like, they were not into. We were not into, you know, we were trying to amuse ourselves with chants. People like didn't know who Wheeler Yuta was. They didn't know who Josh Woods was. They didn't know like Willow and Mercedes, like a lot of them. And to me, like, I felt like I was watching a live taping of Dark Elevation, you know, with a Briscoes FTR match, you know, and then, you know, Gresham Bandito. Like those are two, I mean, that alone made it worthwhile. Like, I mean, I wasn't upset with the show. I thought it was a good show. I enjoyed myself. I had a good time, mainly because of those two matches. But again, if it wasn't for those two matches, I'd have probably been disappointed. I still would have had fun because it was my first live wrestling show in 3 years. But But the NXT show the next day, even though Scott and Keela bagged all over it on their recap, I thought it was better than the ROH show, overall.
Yeah.
I thought the women's match over delivered. I got
I agree with that.
Look at that shot there. I got so many nice shots of EO. And the main event, the booking in the main event left a sour taste for everybody, of course, but it is what it is, and they reversed the course on Monday night. But there wasn't a bad match on the show, and the crowd wasn't mic'd very well, because in the arena the crowd was into everything, but I guess I heard it didn't come off very well on TV. I don't know. I'm assuming James and Mel that you didn't watch that show.
I saw a couple of the matches. The NXT show?
NXT.
Oh, you know what? I actually did have it on.
Okay.
I got Peacock for free, and given the fact that we were all covering everything, and I was like, let's get some matches in. I used to be a huge NXT fan.
Sure.
Huge.
Yeah.
I bought the network for it. That was why I subscribed. So, but we know the story. But yeah, I put it on because I wanted to see some stuff, and it looked pretty good. Nothing made me sit down and watch.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? There were times when I had stuff on in the background and I was like, whoa, what's this? I'm watching this. But other times it was like, I don't feel like I'm missing anything so much.
Yeah, I thought they put on as good a show as they could have, but it's just this is what they're capable of.
Their identity is all over, and I just don't think that's helping the people performing on the shows very much.
No,
I think I had it on one screen and Mission Pro Bangers Only on another screen.
Right, Mission Pro was on.
Yeah, and so again, I was just kind of watching both and listening to it seemed fine. I didn't have the audio on, so I couldn't tell if the audio was good or not.
Mm-hmm.
But
James, you watched 8 million shows this past weekend. What show, if you were going to recommend one show that that probably we wouldn't even think to watch, what would you suggest that we go back and check out?
That's tough. Bloodsport was really good. I really enjoyed Bloodsport. Also, New Japan Lone Star Shootout. I think those were, to me, top to bottom, the two strongest outside of WrestleMania itself. I agree with Scott. This was Tony Khan's chance to pull people into ROH, and he didn't put together a card to do it. Really, everything just led back to AEW Dynamite, and that was a real disappointment for me because I wanted an ROH show, not an AEW show, and I love AEW, but I wanted something different. And FTR against the Briscoes felt like something different, but it didn't lead to anything. It literally led to a show on Dynamite, a great match on Dynamite, but. Again, there was nothing else there to hook anybody. There's no reason to be ready to buy the next ROH pay-per-view. And Willow Nightingale, for instance, it felt like an AEW Dark show. The only time I've ever seen Willow Nightingale before is AEW Dark. So the matches absolutely felt like an episode of Dark to me. It was a little disappointing, even though there were good matches on it.
And to your point, the big thing that we got on that show is the debut of Samoa Joe. And I'm totally excited thinking, oh man, he's going to be, they're going to build ROH around him. They're going to be a Samoa Joe Jay Lethal.
And then we get the tweet.
Yeah. And as soon as we got that tweet,
Samoa Joe's all elite. And I thought, I was disappointed and I want him to be there. Yeah. But I thought, okay, finally something for ROH. Samoa Joe is Ring of Honor. And then he's not, he's just Wheeler Yuta at that point,
squashing Max Caster, on Dynamite,
which is, I got to tell you, I was excited they finally gave somebody a squash match. Yeah, because we've got Bryan Danielson going 10 minutes with nobodies. Somebody needs to stand out with a squash. I'm glad it was Samoa Joe, but we never
seemed to get gone any longer than he did. He was sucking wind by the end of it.
Caster's the guy to do it with because he can get all the heat back just with that. Yeah. His rap was fantastic. That's
great.
That's one of the best ones he's done.
And Scott, you could tell Joe liked that rap. You could tell it.
Everyone he was saying, they would cut to Joe. He'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's like, that's fair. That's fair.
And then at the end, you could tell he was
like,
and he was like, he was their champ, but we beat him in the ring. And Joe was like, all right, I'm whooping this dude's tail. Wait till he gets in the ring.
Keep talking. Right. You got it coming. Yeah.
For all everybody saying I saw all these shows, it sounds to me like Mel may have seen just as many as I did. I'm excited to know what her favorite show was. Her.
I saw a fair number is because Sam, my co-host, she watched pretty much everything.
She watched everything, right?
She didn't miss just about anything. She's, I forgot the multiverse of matches was on. I'm
She
like,
can watch it tonight.
shame on you, you jerk.
Yeah.
No, but and it was amazing. But I knew the ones that she wanted to see the most, so those were the ones I picked. That GCW show was great because I had never seen one of their shows for the culture. It was a ton of fun, and I would definitely give it a shout out. But you guys are all wrong. The ROH show was freaking awesome. I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
And the reasoning for me is that I was literally the last holdout. Everybody bought this pay-per-view. Everybody was bought into this pay-per-view. I've been mad at Tony Khan for the last few weeks because I think he's been doing way too much. A lot of people have said, he's doing no ROH stuff or he's not doing. I think he's either been distracted by ROH, and so Dynamite has felt very flat or I think stagnant's the word that I used with a friend recently. And then I was like, all right, I'm not doing it. I'm not supporting this. I'm an AEW fan. I mean, I am not kidding you when I tell you that I probably bought that show an hour before it started, and it had everything to do with the spaces that we did on Thursday, and then talking to everybody, and was like, okay, at the minimum, this is wrestling community culturally relevant, and you can't not watch it. And then I ended up being surprised and had it was my husband Bob and I, we sat and watched it together and had fun. And it was a lot of fun, and there was a lot of really cool stuff on it. Did it sell another ROH pay-per-view for me in the future? Probably not. I mean, but in the moment, at the time, with all the wrestling I had watched, I was going from, we couldn't watch the Lone Star Shootout at the time because the Spaces was on at the same time. So I jumped on and started replaying that because that was the one I was the most excited to see and would probably say was my favorite because, hey, in case you missed it, I'm a giant New Japan fan. It's just, so that was probably my most favorite. But I think the ROH card was in its own zone, and it's like all in a vacuum, just as one show that I was not going to buy and didn't feel like I was going to be like over the top about. It was good to see Bandito again. Haven't seen him since I saw him in Progress like years ago. And I did actually like the Briscoes match and some of the other stuff that was on there. And I was excited for the Joe thing. But I think the very end part of the end part where it was like, it was like, yeah, Joe's out. And then there was Stinger where it was like, All Elite everything. And I went, come back.
Yeah.
It was like having a Marvel Stinger after the fact.
That's exactly my point.
It sucked the air out from me.
If you had talked to me, the second Samoa Joe came out, I'd have been like echoing almost everything you said.
Yeah.
Because I actually bought my ticket to the show an hour before it started. So, and
Suzuki as TV champion. How freaking cool is that?
Yeah. That is cool.
Yuta
That's
as
cool.
pure
That's
champion.
Cool. That was a cool.
We were shocked.
Is great. He's great. He's so I'm a big Yuta fan.
Yeah, if you like white bread.
I'm looking at the card right now.
He's a great wrestler. He's a great wrestler.
What happens?
And I love white bread.
He's wheat bread.
Yeah.
like that show.
Stone ground.
I love seeing Swerve. I like the Swerve Alex Zane match. Like I like the beginning. I love the Tully Blanchard stuff. I had to go back and see the undercard to see who the tag team was that he brought out when he came out with Brian Cage. I love that Brian Cage was his guy. And then I got a little like the Mercedes Martinez match it felt a little off because I felt like she was wrestling someone from Dark. Then you've got the FTR match. Everything's awesome. And then it's like, let's just hide the Briscoes under the ring or whatever. As soon as the Young Bucks came out and I got excited, I thought, yes, Briscoes Young Bucks. And then I realized, no, they're denied.
We're going to get this great three-way feud.
No, we were losing our mind.
We got nothing.
Yeah, and we got nothing out of that.
Yes.
And then, I'm always excited to see Suzuki. But then the last two matches, for whatever reason, I like Wheeler Yuta, but I just was not into the last two matches. And I think that, again, I think the big match took all the wind out of my sails for the end of it. But then at the end, the fact that none of it was really, it didn't feel like anything was building to ROH. It was all going right back to AEW. That was just a huge disappointment for what was it was a good card. There were a lot of good matches.
Yeah.
I love a lot of these people. It was just weird. Like the whole thing just came off very strange.
It
James,
was
you
the
hit it. The tag match should have main evented. I think at the end of the
Yeah.
day,
Yeah.
if that
Yeah.
tag match main events and you go home with that match, even with the Bucks angle,
Yeah.
I think that it's just a better taste in your mouth going home instead of the Samoa Joe thing, especially you guys hit, especially when you cap it off with, and we'll see what happens on AEW Dynamite. Like
We'll see him on Wednesday.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna do that, flip it around. Let Joe bring that
That's a
energy to
great
the
idea.
middle of the show, and then
Yeah.
you close it with the big. That's the match everybody wanted to see.
Maybe
And I
after
didn't-
the
100.
ladies match.
I didn't watch-
Like
I
get
didn't
the
watch-
end of the ladies match and get like Joe out there then, and so you've got that anticipation.
There you
and-
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish
exactly.
I
I
do.
think that's Tony. Is that Tony being a young, inexperienced booking guy?
Let's ask John
Or, I mean,
LaRocca about that.
like I have to think so. And the thing is we go through, like you were talking about AEW, you felt like spending a little bit of a funk recently, and I feel like every 3 months or so we have a period of like 3 or 4 weeks where it's just it feels a little off, and then he pulls it back together.
Yeah.
And I have to think that's just due to the fact he's only been booking for like 2 years, 2.5 years, and hopefully he'll get through that. But yeah, and like I like Willow Nightingale, but she doesn't feel like a real opponent for Mercedes Martinez. I wish we would have had someone with a little meatier opponent for Mercedes, because I love Mercedes and I loved her getting the title, but it felt like a foregone conclusion against Willow Nightingale.
I think if you get to see more Willow Nightingale, James, I think you're going to be a real big fan.
I like her on Dark. Like I really do like
I
her.
wish they would give her a little more. to work with, 'cause
she's got a
she seems
likability.
like she-
See, that's the
baby
thing. I like her.
baby
She just doesn't feel like
face,
she's there
baby
yet.
Face.
Yeah, I look at her I like a female Willie Mack. Like she's got that same kind of same kind of appeal as he does. Like just fun person you just kind of want to get behind and impossible to hate. You know, and I think if they get somebody like her, if she was featured on Dynamite, would probably get over, especially in because it's a character that you don't really see.
I think a long time ago, she was one of my should have been on Dynamite's her versus, I think, Abaddon. And I really liked her. But again, it's just like, I feel like for the title match, I want somebody who feels like a threat. Because since I know they're just putting her on Dark, they're not going to have her beat Mercedes Martinez, especially since this whole show felt like it was built around getting the title belts onto nothing but AEW stars.
I would have liked to see Layla Hirsch there. I mean, why not have Layla Hirsch versus Mercedes?
That would have been great. Yeah.
We know it's going.
You know who me? If you've ever listened to the Dynamite show, Kylan King. I love Kylan King.
What was the show? There was a show on
Women's show.
No, there was a show on. Yeah, it was. I think it was Mission Pro Bangers Only. That was almost all women. There was one dude. And Kylan, I'm trying to pull up. I've got all the cards here. I'm trying to find it.
Okay,
Kylan King.
I'm impressed.
Kylan King came out with a tag team partner who I'd never seen this one before, never heard of her before, and they were in like baby blue and pink Road Warriors armor and face paint, and it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. I freaking loved it. It's worth going and checking out that show just to see that look. It was great.
She's only 25.
Wow.
Oh, was that Maddie Rinkowski?
It was Kylan King and Genocide. They took on Maddie Rinkowski and Shay Chanel.
Oh, I've seen her. She's been on the Taco blog. She's great. She's got a great charisma, man. She is interesting.
I think their team name was Bionic Kingdom. And
that's exactly right. Yeah,
it was
I'm
awesome.
Looking at it right now.
They looked amazing. It was a good match. I don't really remember it, but they looked.
That's a great call right there, James. That's a heck of a callback.
Hey, I'm gonna find that,
especially considering the metric F ton of wrestling that was consumed this week.
Right, that was impressive. Right there.
Like that's one of the few things that is like stood out in my memory, and so that's why I feel like it's definitely worth talking about because I definitely remember that.
I will find that match and I will let people know my thoughts on next week's Dynamite show.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right, so we'll wrap this up soon, but you guys, I think all three of you at different points. Maybe not Scott, I'm not sure, but had said you wanted to hear stuff from my live experiences, and that was like the selling point. And I imagine some people listen back to this or watch it back. So, Mel, do you got any questions that you haven't had answers to yet about my WrestleMania experience?
I heard a lot of the things but I can't think of anything. If anyone else has something immediate right now, and then maybe I'll think of something as we go.
Okay.
There were two people you met that I wanted to know about. You've already addressed Mandy Rose. Now let's get to the real star of the weekend. You met Kevin Ely. You met my co-host. How did that go?
I did. You know what? Okay.
Oh,
So that was interesting. Because we kind of got lost halfway between Omaha and Oklahoma City.
And I literally posted, Kevin Ely, you have to save Paul Fontaine.
Yeah. It's a straight shot when you look at it on a map. And I don't know where Google sent us, but we were going through these little towns everywhere. And I'm messaging Kevin, and I think I'm like an hour and a half away. Oh, wait, no, now I'm 2 hours away. Now I'm like 2.5 hours away. And then at one point when I finally think, okay, we're like an hour out, all of a sudden I had to stop and get a charger for my phone because I had the charger that I brought had a plug-in and it wouldn't work in my van. So we stopped at a gas station to buy a new charger. And then when we got back on the interstate, all of a sudden I'm going the wrong way. So I'm going north. And I figured it out pretty quickly. And then so Google told me, okay, you got to turn around to the next exit. So I get off on the next exit. I go to get back on the interstate to go south. There's construction and they've got that exit closed. I said, how do I get back on the interstate? Go that way. And it's a dirt road. I'm like, how far? I don't know. But if you go that way long enough, you'll eventually get to a side road.
Paul, I have anxiety hearing this story.
Yeah, seriously.
Long story short, I'm 40 minutes out of the way. So by the time we got to Kevin, it was already 7:30. When we left Omaha, I thought I was going to be meeting him at 5. And we were going to get to Dallas by about, 8:30, 9 o'clock. That wasn't going to happen. So we had a great meeting with Kevin. I had never met him personally. Obviously, I've talked to him on the, on instant messages, and we've done podcasts together and everything. But my daughter, Sydney, who doesn't really like meeting people, she said that Kevin was a very nice man, and that as soon as she met him, she felt like he'd known him forever.
That's nice.
And very kind, she said. And that was, that was what she took away from it. And for me, I mean, I just again, probably like her, I felt like I had known him for 20 years, even though I think I met him like 2 years ago.
Yeah, that sounds like Kevin to me. I've never met him, but as soon as we started podcasting together, we'd never talked. I think we talked on the phone one time before our first podcast, and I feel like we've been friends forever.
And you guys are great on that show.
Thank you.
Great.
This was his idea.
Thank you.
I mean, at the end of the day, this was him saying that I was listening to your ROH show.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a great idea.
Why isn't he on here? Kevin,
right?
We all have, but he said, I'd love to hear everyone's wrap up, and Paul was there live. And we did from Fight Game Media's aspect is this is the first time we've ever covered everything so ridiculously thoroughly. And we had blogs and all kinds of fun stuff. So it was really cool.
My big regret is that nobody else, I mean, there were some people in the group there, but none of the other hosts or writers were there. And that was a regret. So I'm looking forward to seeing.
That's going to be double or nothing.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing
a lot of the meetups for people.
So don't bug me when I'm at the blackjack table. I'm warning everybody right now, but I'll be at all the meetups and everything. But when it's over and I'm at the blackjack table, leave me alone. That's all I'm saying.
You're working. You're at that table.
Vegas. I'm not making it to Vegas. No. Hopefully, everyone can make it to.
You're not going to be Vegas?
I can't do Vegas. It's not something that's in the cards. We had some life issues, but we're going to Chicago in the fall. It's our 20th wedding. Our 20th wedding anniversary is right around the same time All Out will be. So we were like, okay, we were going to do big deal, but because of everything that's gone on in the last 3 years.
She married when she was 9?
Yeah.
I think that's clear. Yeah.
I lived on a, there's a long story back. I have a whole backstory about growing up on a farm, in a farm community. It's good.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. You're still together, so that's cool. I mean, I get, we just had our 31st wedding anniversary. And
wow.
Yeah.
See, you were only 11 then.
I wish. I was not much older than 11. Scott, you got any final questions?
Well, besides me, not feeling really young here, I feel like a kid in this conversation.
I love it. It's great. I love the perspective. It's so awesome.
I feel like a child. You guys were talking about you were watching the Attitude Era in high school and college. I was probably 8 when that was going on. So
that's okay. A lot of my close friends are roughly the same age, and I love having that. Like, one of my friend's favorite things to do is remind me or tell me what he was doing the year that I was doing things. Like, when I tell them about our wedding anniversary, he's like, "Sweet, I was in 6th grade."
Right. See?
My 27th birthday. I remember watching Monday Night Raw and seeing Chainsaw Charlie and Cactus Jack getting thrown over the stage in a
I remember this. Oh my God.
The garbage thing. I'm drawing a blank. But that's how old I am. But anyway, sorry, I interrupted you, Scott.
It's getting bad.
You guys remember throwing up the middle fingers and drinking beer? I'm just trying to get a Power Ranger and a Pokemon card. But no, the other question I had is what was probably the most surprising crowd reaction that you experienced? As far as maybe they got really cheered when you're expecting them to get booed, or they got booed and you're expecting to get cheered. What was the craziest crowd reaction you experienced?
Wow, that's a good one. I would say. Okay, you know what was the surprising thing for me? And I mean, I've heard it, but I haven't experienced it. And it was the reaction for Roman Reigns when he came out. Like it was a mixture of people cheering. I have a great picture on my Facebook, and you can look at it. I posted in the Fight Game Media group of these 2 little girls behind me that were just huge Roman Reigns fans, and they were cheering and clapping hands with each other. And just the reaction, like, but as many people as them that loved him, there's other people that hated him. And so to see that reaction, and it was loud and it was sustained, and whereas Brock was more like, oh yeah, we heard the music and dun, 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 but with Roman, it was that whole time. And when he said, acknowledge me, he got acknowledged. And I just think, like, anybody that doesn't think he's the man right now in the industry is wrong, and I'm not saying 55,000 people were there to see him, but 55,000 people would have been pretty upset if they didn't get to see him. So, for me. And I guess too, maybe the reaction when The Miz turned on Logan Paul, even though I should have expected it. I mean, I wasn't expecting like a 99% babyface response when that
I was
happened.
very happy about that.
Yeah, I know. You're a big Miz guy. You're a big Miz guy. Yeah.
That match was better than it had any business being.
I love that match.
It was
Logan
great.
Paul
Miz is 2 for 2.
I love him. I love Miz though.
Yeah.
Miz is great. He really is a versatile dude. He
is.
gets through even though he's in that situation. I love
amazing
that guy.
heel Logan Paul, and then they turned him tried to turn him baby face. Didn't work. Yeah. Okay, so did you get anything, or do we just want a wrapper?
If I have anything else, I'll make sure and tweet it at you, because we're retweeting the heck out of this guy right here. It's a lot of fun.
So Mel, this show is ahead,
I was just going to say, Mel, please let your co-host know I decided to show up and represent the Atlanta Braves here tonight. While she's being the actual super fan watching the Braves right now.
Oh, I love it. I totally appreciate that. I will definitely let her know. I'm sure she'll watch back, but she is like that.
My Jays don't start till tomorrow, and I got to drop some wrestling because I got 162 baseball games to watch over the next 6 months.
Fortunately, I'm a playoff only baseball watcher, because I love baseball's great, and I grew up in the Boston area, so obviously, but I don't know. I like when baseball's exciting.
That's fair.
That's why,
and that's the best time of year to watch it.
Scott is out.
That's why I love
I love the show. I love to play the MLB The Show, but I do not like to watch baseball.
I like when my friends are happy. You know what I mean? It's like I don't need to be an MLB fan. My friends are MLB fans. I'm glad that Sam has that, and I'm like happy to work around it because it's fun. And I'm gonna have things like that come up, like when the Seahawks are playing a big playoff game or something. If that ever happens again, I'm probably not recording on Sunday either.
Is that where you are, Seattle?
No, but I was there for like 13 years, and they were my first. I moved around a lot, and they were the first like live ones. And God, that guy is the man. I don't know what.
He is the man.
He is the man, and I
Russell.
don't understand.
Yeah, Russell Wilson. He is the man.
Broncos.
I was hoping
he should have been the
Saints would
MVP
get him,
like 28 times. He's carried that team, and what they did to him is kind of shameful. But that's a podcast for another time.
That's another story.
And
you'll
Scott,
get on with Garrett and talk about that.
I think we've definitely established MLB is an old man's and old lady's sport here.
Mel
So I
is
got
not
a
an
few
old
more
lady.
years. I got a few more years.
Yeah.
James is blackballed.
Check back in 15, 20 years. You'll be a
Get
Yeah.
your pipe and your
Yeah.
shake your hit fist at the clouds.
Yeah.
Do I need a smoking robe too? Do I need a smoking robe and some house slippers?
It could
Who
only
should
help,
get
man.
one? That's just fun.
Yeah.
Everyone
Yeah,
needs
it's
that.
fun way to
Yeah,
watch.
I'm
it's
with you
true.
on that.
All right. So we'll do the plugs. Scott Young, you're on the Wrap with Keela Cash. That drops on what, Mondays?
It
On the
drops
Fight Game Media
on
Network, free feed.
Yes, that drops on Mondays. With Keela Cash, I am only on there because she makes me look good. She is fantastic, a great host. She does the thing. She holds it down. We talk all things WWE. We watch all the hours so that way you don't have to. You can just listen to an hour and a half podcast and you don't have to waste your life.
And you got an interesting guest this weekend, don't you?
Yeah, we do have an interesting guest. It's some old guy, and I'm really excited to hear what he has to say.
For the listeners, I just put up my
Well
hand.
done.
Yeah.
The sexy old guy, by the way.
Yeah. What does she call me? The sexy OG?
Sexy OG Grandpa Dez.
Yeah. I was the
Nice.
guy that came up with the idea
Love
for the
that
show,
lady.
and I invited Scott on to co-host with me and Keela, and he took my job. So thanks, Scott.
I think this.
Jay-
I think this show should be renamed the Sexy OG Grandpa Dez
There
Show.
you go.
I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, I gotta look
mean-
into the branding of that. James McDaniel, you're on the Boom. That also you guys record on Sunday nights and usually comes out Monday morning, sometimes Tuesdays, and that covers all things AEW.
That's
And
right.
you guys are just two super fans. We call it what is so Jeff and I provide critical analysis on the Dynamite show, and you guys are just Tony Khan's biggest cheerleaders.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair to say. It's really just me, a dumb guy with a bad memory, like listening in awe as Kevin Ely comes up with some of the best guesses at what's coming next in AEW. And most of the time, his ideas seem to me like they're way better than Tony Khan's. We record every Sunday night. The show drops every Monday after the main event with Scott Young and Keela Cash. And so, yeah, check it out every Monday.
And we've got Mel Gray. Am I allowed to use your last name?
Yeah, it's fine.
I just did.
It's literally
host-
on my Twitter.
Oh, is it? Okay. And I should know that. I do follow you. And she co-hosts the Power Bombshells with Samantha Shipman on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. And so you guys have a schedule now, right? Sunday afternoons?
We are usually up at Sunday at 8, so
Okay.
we're kind of the end and the beginning for the week of weeks. And Julie, we are gonna start doing. We did our first live stream for WrestleMania weekend,
cool.
and that was a lot of fun. And we had some people tune in. And we really, really appreciate it. We're at Power Bombshells on Twitter, and we are, on the Fight Game YouTube. We're exclusively on the YouTube channel. So come see us.
And what's your niche?
exclusive.
What's like you guys are covering things basically like non-mainstream stuff pretty
Well,
much,
what
right?
we do is we cover what we watch, which
Okay.
generally tends to be AEW. We've really committed to watching New Japan Strong on the weekly because it's so good. I mean,
So
if you
good.
just
It
want
is.
a freaking just meaty hour of pro wrestling, like in the gym with the, Ian Riccaboni and Alex Kozlov just doing like old school, standing behind. It's great. It's so
Yeah.
much fun. I every week I watch it. I'm like, why have I not been watching this sooner?
I
It's
wish
so
it was
good.
on regular television because it's on the streaming
I
channel. I
obviously
always
am a New
forget.
Japan
Yeah.
watcher.
Yeah.
I mean-
I do too. But it's just like for me, it's I don't know, I'm lazy. And I don't like to have to like hook it up, because I don't have an app for it. So I have to stream from my phone and then I can't use my
They need an
phone.
app.
Yeah. So or I could hook it up with a cable, but who does that anymore?
I like it. Sounds like you're
Now
hooking up an
that's-
N64 here, Paul.
Yeah. Well, that's
Did you
it,
make
right?
sure you
Like the
blow on the cartridge before you put it in
HDMI
there?
cables.
Yeah.
Like I'm not.
I know
have
about that. See, I'm on up for that.
See, all right, cool. I got that
Yeah.
joke.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So you can check out all our good stuff. And I'm on the Dynamite show on the Fight Game Media Network Plus, Patreon, and also in the Clinch MMA podcast with Ryan Frederick. So you can check either of those out. That one drops Mondays, and of course, Dynamite show is on Wednesdays. So for Mel, for James, for Scott, I've been Paul Fontaine, aka Grandpa Dez, and this has been Cup of Joe with Grandpa Dez.
Best theme song in the business.